Hello students, let us discuss about amendments in customs applicable for May 2018 exams. These amendments have been taken from the RTP issued by the institute. There are amendments in exemption from custom duty chapter. Then next amendment is there in valuation chapter, and the next amendment is there in duty drawback chapter. These are the three basic amendments. Out of that, amendment in valuation chapter is the most important one. Let us start with that one. Check. Now what they have done in valuation chapter, valuation under customs rule, the customs determination of value of imported goods rules have been amended, considering introduction of GST and further considering certain case laws which happened recently. As per one of the recent case law, it was decided that the loading, unloading, etc., which is charged at ad hoc 1%, is not as per the constitution and was struck down. So the lawmakers amended the law to remove that provision. So let us see the amended provision. In the amended provision, first thing they did was to define place of importation. Place of importation was defined. Now what do you mean by place of importation? So they say place of importation means the custom station where the goods are being brought for being cleared for home consumption. Example, if goods are imported from USA and they are brought over here at custom station in Mumbai for being cleared, the custom station in Mumbai will become place of importation. Means the custom station where the goods have been brought for being cleared for home consumption or for deposit into warehouse. So either they can be removed from home consumption or they can be removed for warehousing from that place, but that place is known as the custom station or the place of importation. Now further, the word transaction value has been amended, and they say value up to the place of importation will only be considered as a part of transaction value. Well, two things they have done. First, they have defined something known as place of importation. Place of importation means the custom station from where you clear the goods. And secondly, they have changed the definition of the word transaction value, and they now say the transaction value means value up to the place of importation. Up to the place of importation, up to the custom station where it is brought for clearances. Now why such amendments have been made? They do not want to include the value after importation, like many a times unloading charges, handling charges are incurred at the port of importation. They do not want to include that value in the value of imported goods. So they have restricted only the cost which has been incurred for bringing the goods to the place of importation, not after that. Once they are brought into place of importation, after that the cost won't be included in the value. Then next, rule 10.2 has been substituted. Now rule 10.2 was the main rule for valuation, where certain things were added like cost of transportation, cost of insurance, loading, unloading was added earlier. Now this rule 10.2 has been amended. As of now, cost of transportation is the one limb and other limb is cost of insurance. The ad hoc limb of 1% has been deleted. So let us see the amended provisions over here. Value of the imported goods. Value of the imported goods shall include two things. Cost of transport. In that they have considered loading, unloading, handling and charges associated with only up to the place of importation. Delivery of imported goods up to the place of importation. Anything which is incurred, transportation, loading, unloading, handling for delivery of goods to place of importation is only included. After they are delivered to the place of importation, no other charges again like loading, unloading will be included. Loading, unloading is included only for the delivery of goods up to place of importation. Sir, can you explain this a bit? Let us say from another country goods have been imported into India. Over here, loading, unloading charges have been incurred. Then the freight has been incurred over here and the goods arrive over here. Delivery of goods to the place of importation. Delivery of goods to the place of importation. Delivery of goods to place of importation. Now all such charges up to this place of importation will be included. So loading, unloading at load port, other port will be included, but loading, unloading at the port of import won't be included because they include only charges incurred for delivery of goods to the place of importation, not after that. So what is the first thing which is included is the cost of transport, loading, unloading for delivery of goods to the place of importation, not after that. And next, cost of insurance to the place of importation. The insurance, well, basically the transportation and loading unloading to the place of importation, and insurance to the place of importation, that is included. Okay, now there is no C point over here, key ad hoc 1%, that has been deleted. So only these 2 points are there as of now. Okay, so let us write it over here. New rule 10.2. In the A part it says cost of transport, loading, unloading, handling, lekin only delivery of goods to the place of importation. Up to the delivery of goods to the place of importation. Next, in the B part it says cost of insurance for delivery of goods to the place of importation. Up to the place of importation. Okay. Now, so how this value will be added? Actual value, key ad hoc value. Let us consider that now. Now, in case of transport, etc. Okay, if you know the actual, then actual is considered. If you don't know the actual transportation cost, then they consider 20% of FOB. See, for transportation etc. means transportation, loading, unloading etc. for delivery of goods to the place of importation. For that, if you know the actuals, actuals are considered. If you don't know the actuals, 20% of FOB is considered. 20% of FOB is considered. Sir, actual also not known, FOB also not known, but FOB plus B known. So what is this B? Ek minute. A was cost of transportation etc. B was insurance. So you don't know the only FOB, but FOB plus insurance is known. You don't know the actual transportation also. In that case, transportation is equal to 20% of FOB plus B. Over here transportation is equal to 20% of FOB. Over here transportation is equal to 20% of FOB plus B. So there are three scenarios. First, if you know the actual transportation, that will be considered. Second, if you don't know the actual transportation but FOB is known, then transportation is 20% of FOB. Third, if you don't know the actual transportation, you don't know the FOB but you know FOB plus B, then transportation is equal to 20% of FOB plus B. Next, insurance. If you know the insurance, actual insurance, that will be considered. If you don't know the actual insurance but FOB is known, in that case insurance is equal to 1.125% of FOB. Third case, actual not known, FOB not known, but FOB plus A known. In that case insurance is equal to 1.125% of FOB plus A. Okay, these are the new rules how to add the transportation etc. cost and how to add the insurance. When I say transportation etc. means transportation, loading, unloading etc. for delivery of goods up to the place of importation, till that time only, not after that. And then when you say insurance, only insurance. If you know the actual transportation, consider the actual transportation. If you don't know the actual transportation but FOB is known, then transportation is 20% of FOB. If you don't know the actual transportation, you don't know the FOB but you know FOB plus B, then transportation is equal to 20% of FOB plus B. Next, insurance. If you know the actual insurance will be considered. If you don't know the actual insurance but you know the FOB, in that case insurance will be 1.125% of FOB. If you don't know the actual insurance, you don't know the FOB also but you know FOB plus A, then insurance is 1.125% of FOB plus A. Okay, these are the new rules. Sir, any extra point? There's one more additional point. Now, in case of air, there's some extra point. Let us say actual transportation, loading, unloading etc. known. Still, max to max, it can be 20% of FOB, not above that. So this is an extra point for air transport. Okay, when you import the goods by air transport, maximum transportation loading unloading will be 20% of FOB, even if actual is known. That's an extra point. In case of ship, what happens? If you know the actual, take the actual. If you don't know the actual, then you go for 20% of FOB. In case of air, that's not the case. Even if you know the actual, the value to be taken is the actual or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower. So final for air is, if you know the actual, then actual or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower, will be considered for air transport, the loading, unloading, etc. for delivery of goods up to the place of removal, etc. Actual or 20% of FOB, which is lower, will be considered, even if you know the actual. Rest all remains the same. If you don't know the actual, take 20% of FOB. If you don't know the actual, if you don't know the FOB, but you know FOB plus B, then take 20% of FOB plus B. That all remains the same. The only extra point in case of air is this point. Okay. Now let us understand the two ports. Let us say this is the export country, and let us say this is India, the importing country. From here the goods came over here. The value up to this port, export port, is known as the FOB value, and value up to this port is known as the CIF value. So many a times they say 20% of FOB, 1.125% of FOB. You need to know FOB means value up to the load port. In that case, normal value of the goods, transportation from the factory to load port, loading at load port, etc. will be considered. All the values up to the plates of exportation should be considered as FOB. After that, you transport the goods, then comes insurance, freight, etc. and then comes CIF value at the plate of importation. So you should know that when the goods are moved from exporting country to importing country, the value up to the place of export is known as the FOB, and value up to the place of import is known as the CIF, because many a times you need to calculate 20% of FOB, etc. Okay. Now what does customs do? First it takes the basic value FOB, then adds transportation, loading, etc. as per the formulas, then it adds insurance. Matlab it brings FOB to CIF, and then the tax is charged. Yeah, custom duty is charged on CIF when you consider the import case. Okay, that was an extra part. Then, sir, any special more points? So let us consider that special points over here. Over and above this points discussed. You can see in the rules. We have already considered in the rules A and B point. We have considered that 20% FOB thing if A is not ascertainable. Then we have considered A is not ascertainable but FOB plus B is ascertainable, then 20% of that sum. Then we have considered if B is not ascertainable, then 1.125%. If B is not ascertainable but FOB plus A is ascertainable, the 1.125% of that sum. That everything is considered. And we have also considered the air part. In case of air, even if you know the actual, you have to restrict the transportation, loading, unloading up to 20% of FOB. That is a critical one. Okay, after that, extra points. Transshipment cost, including insurance, transportation, loading, unloading, handling, etc. will be excluded. So what is this transportation? Let us say goods have been imported from USA to India. The goods arrived at Mumbai port. Okay. After that, they were transshipped to Kerala. All costs up to Mumbai port will be included. Transshipment cost from Mumbai to Kerala will be excluded. Transshipment cost will be excluded. It won't be part of the value. Next, transportation, cost of transportation. We had studied cost of transportation including loading, unloading, etc. for the delivery of goods up to the place of importation. In that cost of transportation, few things will be included. That is ship demurrage, lighterage, barge charges will be included. Now, what do you mean by demurrage? Demurrage is charges for delay. So if there are certain ship demurrage charges, lighterage charges, barge charges. Now what is lighterage and barge? Many a times goods have to be removed from big ship and brought into small boats into India. That is lighterage and barge. That is also cost of transportation only to bring the goods to the place of importation. So ship demurrage, lighterage, barge, that will be included in the cost of transportation. Now very important thing is ship demurrage is included. Port demurrage is not included because we consider everything up to the ports of importation. Once it is imported, then nothing is considered. So ship demurrage is included, but port demurrage is not included. Critical. Ship demurrage is included, port demurrage is not included. Then lighterage, barge, etc. is included. Next, it has been clarified that ad hoc 1% will not be added anymore. So what you will be adding is only two things. A part is transportation, loading, unloading in relation to delivery of goods up to the place of importation, and B part is the insurance. That's it. No ad hoc charge of 1% will be added. So these are the basic amendments in Rule 10.2. Rest all things which you have studied in the past remains as it. Clear? So you might have studied earlier कि buying commission is not included, other commissions are included, etc. Whatever rest all things you have considered in 10.1, etc. will be there. The only change is certain definitions. That is definition of place of import, definition of transaction value, definition of cost of transportation, and Rule 10.2 has changed. Rest all what you have studied in the past remains. How to take the exchange rate, how to take the rate of duty applicable, that all part remains the same. Only changes in Rule 10.2. Okay? Now, based on this change, let us consider the illustrations which are normally given in the module PM in a modified manner. The questions will be same. We will be writing answer as per the amendments. So let us take up the first question over there. A material was imported by air. CIF is $5,000, freight is $1,500, insurance is $500. You know the bifurcation also, but the most important part is import by air. In case of air, we have studied an extra point. Even if you know the actual, you have to compare actual or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower, you need to take that. Then banker realized the payment at a particular rate. CBC rate is another particular rate. Find the value. So which rate to be considered? Obviously CBC rate. That all sections remain the same. The rate on a particular date, etc. that remains the same. If you have RBI rate, CBC rate, you will consider CBC rate for the customs purpose. That remains the same. Now I am now concentrating over here for the calculation of value. Concentrate. We have CIF. From that CIF, first we will calculate the FOB. We'll go back. So from the CIF, we'll remove the freight, we'll remove the insurance which is included, and we'll come back to FOB. Sir, why? Because we have the logic. We go from FOB, then we add freight, insurance in our manner, not as per their manner, and then come to CIF. So even if they have given CIF, I've come back to FOB. So I remove the freight, insurance given by them, I come back to FOB. Now I start afresh. I have FOB. In that FOB, now I will consider the freight. Now in case of air, we need to know actual freight or 20% of FOB which is lower. Actual freight is 1,500. 20% of FOB comes as 600. 1,500 or 600 which is lower, I will be considering 600. In case of insurance, simple. If you know the actual insurance, take the actual insurance, that's it. You need not compare. Air transportation only you need to be careful. You get the CIF, that's it. You need not add that 1%, so that has been deleted. Exchange rate is 60. You multiply the dollars into 60, you get the value. That's the value for the customs purpose. You can find the change over there. 1% ad hoc charges which were added earlier is now no more considered. Clear? Next, illustration number 2. From the following particulars given below, find out the value. We need to calculate the value of the imported goods again. I am as of now concentrating only on imported goods to which the amendment relates. Cost of machine at the factory of the exporter. Okay. So up to the exporter's factory in the exporting country. Transportation from the factory of the exporter to the port of shipment. Loading या फिर handling charges for loading the machine into ship. That is at the place of export now. Then buying commission. Freight from that exporting country to India. Exchange rate, insurance is not assertable, you need to calculate the value. Now, sir, how to calculate the FOB? FOB means all the value up to the place of exportation. So you will include the cost of the machinery, you will include transportation charges up to the port, that will also be included. You will include loading at the load port, that will also be included because this all value are up to the place of export in that other country. That is known as FOB. In that you will add freight and then insurance. Sir, how to add freight? Ship hai. Freight, if you know the actual freight, you will consider that. And you know the actual freight 1,000, that will be considered. Insurance is not ascertainable, that is 1.125% of the FOB, you will consider that 1.125% of the FOB. You will get the CIF in dollars, you will convert into rupees, that's the value. You need to understand that this transportation, handling and this transportation entirely is considered as cost of transportation, but some part is included before FOB, some part is included after FOB, but they are included in FOB. And in case of ship, actuals are taken. So we have directly taken the actuals value if the actuals are known. So what do you mean by cost of transportation? I told you earlier, cost of transportation including loading, unloading, handling, etc. for delivery of goods up to the place of importation. So this all part will be considered as cost of transportation. The above part, that's the cost of machine, and then last we have added insurance. Since insurance is not known, insurance is 1.125% of FOB. Now you need to be careful while calculating FOB. FOB means value up to the load port. So all values up to that were included to calculate the FOB. Fine enough. Next sum. Third one. A consignment of 800 metric tons of edible oils of the Malaysian origin were imported by a charitable organization in India for free distribution to below poverty line people in the backward areas under the scheme designated designed by the Food and Agriculture Organization. This being a special transaction, a nominal price of $10 metric ton was charged for the consignment to cover the freight and insurance. Customs House found that at or about the same time of importation of this gift consignment, following imports were there. So what we have done, we have imported certain oils of Malaysian origin, but they are at very nominal cost, basically like they are gift only. At or about same time, there were certain other importation with the price of 260, 220, 200, etc. for the different quantity levels. Exchange rate relevant is 60. Rate of duty 10%. Ignore IGST. Calculate the amount of duty payable under the Customs Act. Now, over here you can say key price is not the sole consideration. Normally what happens when the price is sole consideration, when the buyer and seller are not related, you take value as a transaction value and then on that value you calculate the duty. But over here the price is not the sole consideration. The goods have been imported as a gift. So there's some other consideration over and above the price. So we go to rules of valuation. As per the rules of valuation, you take value of identical goods. So we have many identical goods. We have imported over here 800 metric tons. So identical goods will be 20 cannot be considered as identical. 100 cannot be considered as identical. It should be near. 500 can be considered as identical. 900 can be considered as identical, 400 can be considered as identical, 780 can be considered, near about is fine. So there are many identical prices available. Further, as per rule 4, if you have many identical prices available, the lowest of all will be taken. What is the lowest? Over you have 200, then the price is 175, 180, 160. Lowest is 160, so 160 will be the assessable value. You come to the valuation. So 800 into 160 is the value, that is a CIF. No other bifurcation is available. You convert that into rupees. So this is the rupee value. On that you calculate duty, 10% custom duty. On that 10% you calculate 3% cess. 3% cess is calculated on custom duty and you get the total duty. That's it. Okay. Next question. Question 4. A foreign trade international limited has imported a machine from England. It has the following particulars. Price of the machine, freight paid, air freight. Design development paid in UK. Commission payable to the agent of the exporter, 2% of the machine in Indian rupees. You are paying commission to the agent of exporter. Now that commission will be added. What is not added is only the buying commission. If you have paid commission to the agent of the exporter, that is not a buying commission, that will be added. So what do you mean by buying commission? Buying commission, for buying the goods I am paying the commission. Over here not for the buying the goods. Over here I am paying commission on behalf of the exporter. So that commission will be added. Buying commission is not added, but this commission will be added. Then bill of entry details are available. Date of arrival of aircraft details are available. You have the custom duty rates, you have the exchange rates on both the dates. IGST rate is available. Insurance charges are not ascertainable, they say. Calculate the value. You need to calculate the value only. Okay, now be careful. First of all, you will consider the price of the machine. Fine. Further, design and development charges will also be added, because they are also from that country of exportation. That will be added over there. Plus you will add the agents, local agents commission payable over there. All these three will be added. So how to add? Certain things are in pound, so we can add directly. Certain things are in rupees, so you will have to first convert pound into rupees. So what conversion rate will be applied? Now rate of exchange is the rate on the date of bill of entry. That is 100. You will apply the conversion rate and then you will add the local agent's commission which is payable. Now again it is payable to the agent of the exporter. It is related to the exporting country. All things will be added and then only you will get the FOB. FOB means value up to the place of exportation. So the basic machine, the design development, the commission of the local agent of the exporter, that is all up to the place of exportation, that all will be considered, and you will get FOB. Once you get the FOB, you will add the air freight and the insurance. In case of air freight, you need to be careful even if you know the actual, because in case of air freight, even if you know the actual, it is actual or 20% of FOB which is lower. So 20% of FOB comes as lower. Sir, actual was 2,500 pounds. So 2,500 pounds converted into rupees at the rate of 100 comes as 2,50,000. Actual is 2,50,000, but 20% of FOB is 1,73,200. So we'll consider lower, 1,73,200. Next, you will add insurance. You don't know insurance. So in case of insurance, 1.125% of the FOB will be added. You will get the total CIF value, and they have asked for CIF. You won't add 1% loading, etc. notionally, because that has been deleted. So this CIF is the final value. On that, customs duty will be calculated. Fine enough. Next, we go to certain questions given in test your knowledge. Come to that. Question number 1. BSA and company has imported a machine from UK. Following are the particulars. Arrive at the assessable value. We need to calculate the value. Price of the machine, air freight, engineering design charges, license fee relating to import of the goods payable as a condition of sale. Anything which you pay as a condition of sale is added in the value of the goods. That is as per rule 10.1, which was there before also and which is there now also. Then materials or components supplied in UK by the buyer free of cost. Anything which the buyer gives to the supplier free of cost is added to the value. That is again as per rule 10.1, which was there before and now also. Insurance paid, actual insurance is known. Buying commission is never included. Other particulars. Interbank exchange rate, that is not at all relevant for us. CBC rate, this is relevant for us. 500 paid towards demurrage charges for delaying in clearance of the goods from the airport. Now this won't be considered. Sir, demurrage are considered. Wait. Ship demurrage are considered. No other demurrage are considered in the value. So this demurrage won't be considered. Make suitable assumptions. We'll start calculating the value. The price of the machine. The engineering design, that will be included. The license fee, that will be included. Then you also need to add the material component, but that is in rupees. So first you will convert into rupees. So what is the exchange rate? Exchange rate was 10. You convert into rupees, you add the material component. Everything you add and then get the FOB value up to the place of exportation. Even the material which you provide, buyer provides to the supplier free of cost, that is added to the value and that is included in the FOB only. Because that is up to the place of exportation. Then you get the FOB. On that FOB, you need to work out the freight and the insurance. Now freight, it is which freight? They have told air freight. Air freight may actual or 20% of FOB which is lower. Actual comes as 3,000 pounds. 3,000 pounds into 100 matlab 3 lakh rupees. Actually is 3 lakh. Or 20% of FOB comes as 2,54,000. 3 lakhs or 2,54,000 which is lower, you will take 2,54,000. Insurance, you know the actual, you will consider the actual only. In case of insurance, once you know the actual, that is considered and then you get the CIF value. On that value, duties will be calculated. Fine enough. We go to the second question. Next, ABC Industries import and equipment by air. Again, import is by air. CIF value is $6,000. Freight insurance is given. Okay, they have given the CIF also, and in that what amount of freight insurance is included? Actual freight insurance given, but we have imported by air. We'll come back to FOB and we'll add freight insurance as per our own convenience. Banker realizes the payment as per 61, that is not relevant. CBC rate is 60, that is relevant. RBI rate, not relevant. ABC Industries spends 56,000 for certain development activities in relation to imported goods. Certain amount has been spent for development activities in relation to imported goods. But this amount has been spent in India, you need to be careful. If amount has been spent for development activity in India, that is not included. If the amount is spent for development activity anywhere else than in India, then it is included. So that won't be included. Basic custom duty 10%. IGST 12%, says 3%, compute the value. But we are required to compute only the value. When you come to valuation, we'll start with CI, but we'll remove the freight insurance. We'll come to FOB, we'll add freight insurance as per our convenience because it is air freight. Now in case of air freight, it is actual or 20% of FOB. Now actual is 1,200. 20% of FOB comes as 600. So we'll add 600, which is lower. And insurance actual is given, so we'll add actual and we'll get the CIF. That's it. So that development charges, now I am repeating, development charges, if they are incurred in India, then they are not added. But if the development charges are incurred anywhere else than in India, they are added. So you need to be careful over there. That is as per the old rules only, not an amendment. That was there earlier also, that is there now also. Let us go ahead. Next. Next question 3. Compute the value under customs law for imported machine based on the following information. Cost of the machine at the factory of the exporter, exporting country. Transportation from the factory of the exporter to the port of shipment, ship. But in the exporting country, this is up to the place of export only. Handling for the loading of machine in the ship, again at the place of export only. Freight from the exporting country to India. Buying commission is never included. Lighterage charges paid by the importer, lighterage charges are part of cost of transportation only. Freight incurred from port of entry to inland container depot. If once they enter the port, after that nothing is included, khatam. This one. Ship demurrages are included. So ship demurrage, lighterage, barge, etc. are part of cost of transportation only. Bill of entry details are available, entry inward details are available, IGST tax details are available. Now we need to compute the value. We need to compute the value only. So we won't go into tax calculation, we'll compute the value. Cost of the machine will be considered, transport up to load port will be considered, handling up to load port will be considered, everything up to the port of exportation will be considered in FOB. Once that is considered in FOB, then we'll add the freight, etc. Total FOB value will be available. Then freight from the place of exportation to India, actual is known, so actual will be considered. Lighterage, actual known, considered. Ship demurrage, actual considered. Then insurance not known, the 1.125% of FOB. That's it, you will add it. Now out of so many figures which are added, this transportation, this handling, then this freight, this lighterage, this ship demurrage, these are all part of cost of transportation, loading, unloading for delivery of goods up to the place of importation. They all will be considered. Certain figures are considered before FOB, certain figures are considered after FOB, but all of them will be considered. And further we have imported by ship, so we need not worry about the 20% of FOB. We'll add all the actuals known. In case of ship, if you know the actuals are added. We have added all the actual transportation. We have added insurance. If we don't know insurance, we have considered 1.125% of FOB. And then we have done the total, that is the CIF value on which duty will be calculated. Okay? Now, these were the few module PM questions which we need to consider for the purpose of valuation after the amendment. Further, in RTP they have given few sums, very good sums. So let us come to RTP questions section, which is given later after the drawback section. Come to that. Now, part 4 questions. In that part 4, question 1, 2, 3, which are given in RTP based on customs, are based on the amendment which happened to Rule 10.2. So we'll be considering this all questions as very important. You can expect any question out of them in exam. These are recent RTP questions based on the amendments which happened. Let us see that. Product Z was imported by Mr. X by air. Details of importation are as follows. Price at the exporter's factory. Freight from the factory of exporter to the load port. Loading, unloading at load port. Loading, unloading at load port. Freight from the factory to the load port. These are all incurred up to the place of exportation. They are all part of FOB. Freight from load port to port in India. Now this is actual freight. Then insurance. Aircraft arrived on a particular date. Bill of entry was filed on a particular date. Now arrival of vessel. Arrival of aircraft. Then bill of entry. This helps us to calculate the rate of duty, the rate of exchange, etc. as per the regular rules. Different rate of duties, rate of exchange are given. Compute the value and compute the duty payable. Now, for the purpose of rate of exchange, you consider the bill of entry. When is the bill of entry filed? When is the bill of entry filed? Bill of entry is filed on 20th of August. So you will consider 20th of August. 20th of August, you will consider the rate of exchange. Now, rate of exchange, I have two, CBSE, RBI. CBSE will be considered 60 is the relevant rate. 60 is the relevant rate of exchange. Now, so what is the relevant date for the duty? For the duty is this date of arrival or date of bill of entry, which is later. So arrival date is 20/8 and bill of entry is 28, which is later. 20/8 is the relevant date for the rate of duty, and therefore the rate of duty will be this 10% for customs and IGST will be 12%. We need to calculate both now, value and duty. Till now I was just concentrating on value calculation. Now we'll study how to calculate duty also. Okay, this is a very, very good sum. Let us see how to calculate over here. First I start with the basic value. Basic value is 8,500. I write it over here. $8,500. Now certain things are added to it, then we come to FOB, then we add the freight, but it is air freight. In case of air freight, it is actual or 20% of FOB which is lower. So we need to be careful. Oh yeah, everyone. FOB. How is FOB calculated? So 8,500 US dollars, that is considered fine enough. Then freight from factory of the exporter to the load port, that is a part of FOB, 250 US dollars. Then loading handling at the place of export, that is also part of FOB, so 250 US dollars again. Okay? And you get it as 9,000 US dollars as FOB, but what we need to add next is the freight, which is air freight, which is either actual or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower. Okay? Now, so what is the actual? So I need to work out the actual over here. Actual air freight. In freight, I have told everything will be considered in the A part. The cost of transportation, the loading, unloading, handling, everything for delivery of the goods up to the place of importation will be considered. So the $250 incurred over there, that will be considered. That was for transport from the factory to the load port. Then $250 for handling in the load port, that will be considered. $4,500 from the place of export to the place of import, that will be considered on actual basis. Total actual cost is 5,000 US dollars. Now actual transportation is 5,000 US dollars. What we add as freight is the actual freight or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower in case of air. This is an air case. 20% of FOB, 20% of FOB comes as $1,800. So you will either add $1,800 or 5,000, which is lower, and you will add $1,800 over here because it is air. So you calculate FOB separately. This is my separate working note. This is my separate working note because I know what is added in freight is FOB ka 20%, FOB is 20%, or actual, which is lower because it is air freight. So I had to work out FOB separately. Now what is FOB? FOB means all value up to the place of exportation. So I had to consider 8,500, 250 up to the place of exportation 9,000. What is the actual cost of transportation? Actual cost of transportation is that 250 incurred in that country for the transportation from factory to load port, and 250 incurred for handling, loading, unloading in that export country. Then 4,500 was a freight from the exporting country to import. That is all like actual transport, loading, unloading up to the place of importation. Now I have both the figures, actual or 20% of FOB, whichever is lower, is added. So in the earlier sums, we had added all the amount in the other country, then brought FOB, then added freight because it was ship. Now this sum is of air. In case of air, we need to be careful. Even if you know the actual, it is 20% of FOB or actual, whichever is lower. And I told you, actual transportation means actual cost of transportation, loading, unloading, up to the delivery of goods to the place of importation. So $1,500. Next, once you have added this, we'll add insurance. Insurance actual is known in the question. Insurance actual is 2,000 charges, so actual will be added. Now you can come to the answer. In the answer by the institute, it is given clearly. You start with 8,500. Then separately you work out the transportation cost. Separately you work out 20% of FOB separately. We had worked out this 9,000 into 20%. That came as 1,800. Once you work out both of them separately, you add lower of the two. So 1,800 is only added in the base figure. Rest all is side working notes. Then insurance actual is added. You get the CIF. That becomes a value. No separate 1% is added. Okay, then the exchange rate. Now exchange rate we had decided 60. So total value in rupees you will get. Once you get the rupees, value in rupees, you will calculate the customs duty. So how is the custom duty calculated? First basic custom duty is calculated, given rate was 10%, so 10% of the value. Then education cess is 2% and 1% respectively, so 3% education cess is calculated on the custom duty. Then after doing that, you add the base value plus the basic custom duty plus education cess, you get the total. What you have added is the base value. Base value is 7,38,000. So you take 7,38,000, then you take the custom duty, then you take the cess, you bring the subtotal. On this subtotal, IGST is charged at the rate 12%. No separate cess for IGST. IGST is charged at the rate 12% on this. You get the IGST, and then you can compute the total duty payable. How to compute the total duty payable? You had paid 73,800 for basic custom duty. You had paid 2,214 for education cess. You had paid 97,681.68 for IGST. You can add all of them. You can round off to nearest rupee. 173,696 is the total duty which is payable. Clear? So new thing is, first you write the value, then you calculate the basic custom duty, then you add the education cess, you bring the subtotal. On that subtotal, IGST is calculated. No separate cess on IGST. IGST is directly calculated at the given rate, and then you can find out the total duty payable. Okay, that was a very good sum. Now next, let us go to question number 2. RTP question. An importer from Cochin imports the goods from an exporter in US. So we are in Cochin, we are importing the goods from exporter in US. A vessel reaches the Mumbai port first, and thereafter it is transshipped to Cochin. Now you need to know, transshipment from Mumbai to Cochin is not included. We had studied while studying the amendment. Assessable values are as follows: the basic cost of the machine at the factory of the exporter, transport from the factory of the exporter to the load port, handling for loading the machine, that is load port. Again, buying commission is never included. Freight from exporting country to India, okay. Insurance is not ascertainable, so it will be 1.125% of the FOB. Now try to understand, it is shipped, so we need not worry about the 20% actual thing. If we know the actual, we will consider the actual. 20% won't be considered. Then design development charges are given. Okay, design development are all about of cost up to the place of exportation. Then unloading, handling at the place of import, this won't be considered. Only cost of transport, loading, unloading for delivery of the goods to the place of importation is considered. After that you incur any loading, unloading, handling, etc. It won't be considered. Then transport from Mumbai to Cochin won't be considered. Relevant rate $1 equal to 60. Let us see the answer. Come to the answer. You start with the machine price, you add the transportation from the factory to the load port, then you add the handling at the load port, you add the design development, everything up to the place of export you add, you get the FOB. Since you know the actual transportation, we are adding the actual things, this handling etc. is added on actual terms, it's shipped. Then next is normal freight from that country to India, that is added. You don't know the insurance. Insurance is 1.125% of FOB. FOB was given over here. On that you will add insurance 1.125%. They go transportation from Mumbai to Cochin, not considered. You get the CIF value. Loading, unloading in India, importation place, not considered. Assessable value, you get the assessable value. See over here nil is written. You get the assessable value. You convert that into rupees, and that is the value. You round off it. Okay, that was the second question. A good one again. The difference between the first question and the second question is, first question was based on air, therefore we had to do separately the actual transport or 20% of FOB, which is lower. Now in case of second question, it was shipped, so we directly considered the actual transportation because we knew the actual transportation. Okay, we go to the third question again of the RTP. Now third question of the RTP is again based on the amendment and valuation only. So observe, out of the 5 questions given in the RTP for customs, 3 are from that amendment in rule 10.2 only. Let us see that. Determine the value in following cases. FOB is there, freight etc. is not known, insurance is there. Okay. Let us talk of freight etc. not known. First is freight known, actual, then we take actual. If freight is not known, we take 20% of FOB. So we can take 20% of FOB over here. So what will be the answer then? We start with the FOB 1000. We can take freight etc. as 20% of FOB $200. We can add insurance. Insurance actual is known. We can add insurance $10. Total value we'll get. This total value in dollars we can convert into rupees later on. That's it. This is the total value. Total value comes as $1,210. Is since loading and unloading was not known but FOB was known, we took freight loading unloading as 20% of FOB. Next, FOB plus insurance is known, but loading, unloading, freight, etc. is not known. Now this is a Third case. First case was actual freight etc. known, take that. Second case was actual freight not known but FOB known, then take 20% of FOB. Third case was actual freight also not known, 20% of FOB also not known, but FOB plus B known, FOB plus insurance known, then take 20% of FOB plus insurance. So what we can do is FOB plus insurance 1010 plus 20% of 1010 FOB plus insurance in the name of freight etc. We'll add that. So that comes as 202. You can do the total, and that comes as $1212. That's the value, including insurance, freight, everything is included now. Next, third one. FOB is known, sea freight known, insurance not known. Okay, FOB known, write it. Freight etc. known. FOB known, write it. Freight etc. known, write it. No problem with that. It is sea freight, so no comparison with 20% etc. Insurance not known, but FOB known. So 1.125% of FOB, 1.125% of FOB. You can add $11.25, and that's it. You get the total as $1071 round off. Next case. FOB plus freight known. FOB plus freight 106, FOB plus transportation freight, FOB plus A known, insurance not known, insurance actual not known, FOB also not known, then insurance is 1.125% of FOB plus transportation. So insurance will be 1.125% of 1060, that will be added, that comes as 11,925, and you can get the total. Total rounded off amount is $1072. Next. Fifth case, FOB, air freight, even if known, we need to be careful, insurance known. FOB, we write it. Air freight, even if we known, it is 20% of FOB or actual which is lower. So freight will be 20% of FOB is 200 or actual 250 which is lower. So 200. Insurance will be 10, total $1,210. This was again an RTP question. Next two RTP questions are based on amendments which are there already in the Finance Act earlier. These are there in our notes also and in our class lectures also. You can just refer them. You can just read them once. You can easily get that. They are already covered in the main lectures. That is question number 4 and 5. They are already covered in the main lectures. That amendments are also covered. So we are done with the RTP question. Now what we are left with is two things. One is amendment in this duty drawback, another is amendment in exemptions. We'll consider two amendments, one in exemption, another in duty drawback, and then we'll wind up. Let us come to amendments in exemption. Now exemption from custom duty, now that's a theoretical amendment. Let us see how it happens. Let us say a person imports certain goods. Over here is the place of importation. Then he brings the goods at some place over here. This is where the goods are used. Goods are used for manufacture of another goods or rendering of service. So a person imports certain goods at the place of importation, brings that goods to a particular area. He uses that goods for manufacture of other goods or rendering of services. And on this entire thing, let us say there's a notification. There's a notification. Key. Import duty will be exempted. So why import duty will be exempted? Because you are using that goods for the manufacture of other goods or rendering of service, which government considers important, very essential for India. They want to promote that too. They can say you import the goods, we'll give you exemptions on import, and you use that goods for manufacture of some other goods or rendering of service, which government tells in the notification. So person gets exemption. So from this diagram, note two places. One is the place of importation, another is the place of use. And there's already a notification in place which says if you use these goods for manufacture or if you use these goods for rendering of service, you will be given exemption from the import duty. Now what happens is there are two officers involved. See, one is the place of import. Over here there will be an officer. Another is the place of use. Over here there will be an officer. Now you need to convince both of them that you are going to use that goods in the specified manner and therefore you are eligible for exemption. So they have given an entire procedure for that. What you need to do, you as a person has to make application to this officer, that is officer at the place, customs officer at the place where the goods are going to be used for manufacture of the goods or rendering of service, where the goods are going to be used. Usual officer. He is a customs officer only, but he is located, his jurisdiction is the place where the goods are used. So you have to make an application, you have to give all the details to him. Okay, I want to import this goods in this quantity, in this value, and I want to use for this purpose. This is the notification exemption which is available, and kindly grant me the exemption notification. This application will be made in 2 copies. He will also make 1 copy of application to this officer, the officer at the place of import. And he will tell him, I have already filed the application to the officer at the place of use. Officer at the place of use will verify the same, and if he considers everything is correct, he will forward the 1 copy to the officer of customs, kindly allow the goods to be imported. Now what has happened is, we had given 2 copies to the officer at use. Out of that 2 copies, he has forwarded 1 copy to the officer at the customs place, import, export. He is also customs officer, but he is at the place of import. To him, we have also filed 1 copy. Now he will verify both of them. And then he will allow import of goods. This person will allow import of goods without duty or at concessional rate, etc. Okay, so now we are studying that procedure part. Now you can see the heading of the rule. Customs import of goods at concessional rate of duty, rules notified. This rule gives the procedure aspect of this all things. Procedure. Importer will have to file an information in duplicate with the ACDC having jurisdiction over the premise where it is used. Further, 1 set is to be given to the ACDC at the customs station. Further, the importer will also have to submit a bond because he is importing without duty. He is promising, I am going to use it in a particular way. If he does not use, then he will have to give a bond also. Then the ACDC of the customs having jurisdiction over the use place will forward 1 copy to the ACDC of the customs station. Then, on receipt of that information, ACDC at the customs station will allow import of goods under the benefit of exemption notification. So you will be able to import the goods. Okay, that was a procedural aspect. Now, continuing that, they have made further rules. See, once you have imported the goods reach the place where it is going to be used. There's an officer at the place of use also. He is also customs officer, but he is custom officer who has a jurisdiction over the place of use. Once you receive the goods, within 2 days you will give an intimation to him, we have received the goods, now we are going to use it in a particular manner. Then, you have to maintain a record or account. This much goods are imported, this much are consumed, this are re-exported, this are there in the stock. Bill of entry wise. Complete details should be maintained. Anytime the officer can come and check your details. Which officer? The officer at the place of use can come and check the details. You have to maintain all the records. This much you have imported, this you have already used, this you have re-exported, this is the stock, so that they know you are not doing any fraud. Next, you will also have to file quarterly returns regarding the same. Obviously, you will file the returns to the officer at the place of use. He is the main officer. The officer at the customs station only allows you to import it without duty. Rest all things will be done by the officer, custom officer at the place of use only. Then, certain cases you are not able to use it because it is in excess quantity or defective. So, you have imported certain goods for a particular purpose, you have got the exemption, but you are not able to use that goods. So, why you are not able to use that goods? Because maybe it is in extra quantity or maybe they are defective. Now you can re-export the goods also. So unutilized defective goods can be re-exported within 6 months from the date of import. Obviously with the permission of the officer. Which officer? Now officer having jurisdiction over the place of use. That officer. There is one condition that when you re-export, the value of re-export shall not be less than the value of import. Or else they won't allow that. So you are not able to use the goods, you have to re-export within 6 months. So can we remove it for the home consumption? Yes, within 6 months with the permission of the officer. Within 6 months with the permission of the officer, you can remove it for the home consumption, but you will have to pay the difference between the duty which you have already paid and duty which was leviable along with the interest. You had imported at the concessional rate or exemption, you had not paid the duty. Now you are removing the goods for home consumption. You have to pay the differential duty along with the interest within 6 months. Within 6 months you can remove the goods for home consumption also. Next. Recovery in certain cases. Let us say you have imported goods, 6 months have expired, you have neither re-exported the goods, neither removed the goods for home consumption on payment of duty with interest. Then there can be recovery proceedings against you because you have not used the goods in the said manner. They can exercise the bond. They can exercise the bond which you gave. They can recover the difference along with the interest. They can recover the difference along with the interest with you. Then that was exemptions, first amendment. That was totally procedural. You can just remember the procedure, that's it. You need not by heart that, you can just imagine in the diagram form and that will suffice. Next, there's a small amendment again in relation to exemption. What is this? Let us say we are importing goods. And import is in parts. Let us say A imports, transfers to B, B transfers to C. C clears the goods over here. When the goods are cleared over here, you need to pay the custom duty as well as the IGST. Question arose when the IGST is payable, when A sells to B, B sells to C, or when the C clears. Ideally, from law, they had power in all the cases because IGST is levied on case of import of goods, a transaction which is other than interest rate. And this is a transaction other than interest rate, IGST can be levied on this. But government wanted to avoid confusion, so what they do? Whenever a person imports or clears the goods, at that time IGST liability will arise. When the IGST liability will arise when the C clears the goods, and on the amount on which a value on which the C clears the goods, on that value directly IGST will be levied. So they have given, it will be levied and collected only at the time of importation when the import declaration is filed with the customs authority for the purpose of the first time. So clearance documents are filed, at that time IGST will be collected, not before that. Obviously, when the C clears the value, includes the entire value of the entire value chain. So on the entire amount they get IGST, so they did not wanted to create confusion of collecting IGST in the earlier stage and then allowing the set off, etc. So directly C will be liable for IGST. That was the next amendment. Over here, amendments in exemption chapter gets completed. So now we are left with amendments only in the duty drawback chapter. Come to that chapter. So what is the amendment? Certain duty drawback rules have been amended because of the introduction of GST. So what is that? There are two types of duty drawback. One type of duty drawback is like this. You import the goods and directly you re-export the goods. Import, re-export. You do not manufacture, etc. You import and re-export the goods. In that case, duty drawback is available under section 74. Now, in that there is a small amendment. Whenever you import and re-export the goods, you get drawback of the duty paid on the import. When you import, you pay the duty. When you export, you get the drawback of the duty paid on the import. So you will also get drawback of the IGST and the compensation cess which has been paid along with the basic custom duty when you import it. So when you import, you pay the basic custom duty, you pay the IGST, you pay the GST compensation cess. So you will get the refund of all the things, the customs part and also the IGST and the compensation cess under GST. You will get refund of all the three parts in the first scenario. What is the first scenario? When you import the goods and then re-export the goods under section 74 of the Customs Act. So IGST and the GST compensation cess drawback is also available in that case. That is the first. Next comes another type of drawback where you import certain things, then you use that goods, manufacture certain goods, and then you export the goods. When you export the goods, you ask for the drawback on the duties, etc., which you have paid on import and other materials. That is the second type of drawback which is given under section 75 of the Customs Act. Now, over there, they have made a rule that you will get drawback of, rebate of duties, custom duty, excluding IGST and compensation cess. In that case, you won't get refund of IGST compensation cess. So what is the case? You import, you manufacture certain goods, etc., then you export. While doing export, you claim drawback under section 75. At that time, drawback or rebate won't be available for IGST compensation cess. For customs drawback will be available. So what about then IGST compensation cess? You can take credit of that, ITC of that, no problem with that. Sir, how much drawback will be available? Drawback will be available at such rates as may be determined by the government. Okay. Let us say I import certain goods, use that, I manufacture certain goods and I export. Government will give a rate and on that rate only I will get the drawback. Let us say government has given a rate of 20% on the sale value, I will get a drawback of 20% on sale value. It is an ad hoc rate. It can be more or less than the actual, no need to calculate the actual. In this case, in case of section 75, you get drawback at the rate determined by the government and not at the actual rates. So government will determine the rate and on that rate you will get the drawback that is given in rule 3 of the new rules. So this is which case? Where you import, then manufacture and then export. That's the case. So conclusion, normal import, direct export, you get the drawback of everything, duty, IGST, compensation cess, etc. Second, that was 74. 75 mein, you import, manufacture and then you export. In that case, you get drawback only of the duty, you don't get drawback of IGST वगैरह, and further you get drawback at the rate specified by the government, which are the ad hoc rates. Now, you don't get drawbacks in certain cases, ठीक है? In that first and second point you need to remember. You don't get drawbacks if you have used the goods after manufacture. मतलब you import the goods, you manufacture goods, you use the goods after manufacture and then you export, no drawback. The case is you import the goods, you manufacture goods and you export, then you get the drawback. If you import, manufacture and after manufacture you use and then you export, no drawback. Next, there's an exception to that point. Tea chests are allowed for drawback even if they are used after manufacture. What are tea chests? They are used for packing materials. So they are, certain goods are imported, tea chests are manufactured, then after manufacture they are used and then they are exported. Even if they are used after manufacture, drawback is available because it is given an exception. Next, second case where the drawback is not available. Let us say you have imported certain goods and then now you are exporting. Your import goods was not subject to any duty. Then how will you get the effect? No drawback will be available. Let us say I have imported certain goods. Out of that, half of them is dutiable, half of them is not dutiable. I export and ask for drawback. They won't give me entire drawback because half of my imported goods was not subject to duty only. If your import is not subject to duty, it is subject to exemption, etc. How they can give drawback of what you have not paid only? So that's the second thing. Next, in certain specific cases, drawbacks is not available. Jute batting oil, then packing materials in case of jute yarn, jute fabric, jute manufacturers, that is everything relating to jute. You can just remember, drawback is not available. These are the certain cases where drawback is not available. Next. So what happens if the drawback has not been determined? Let us say I am importing certain goods, I am manufacturing certain goods and then I am exporting. I get drawback as per the rate determined by the government, but government has not determined the rates in my case only. Then what I need to do? I have imported, I have manufactured, I have exported. From the relevant date for export, relevant date of export is date of order permitting clearance. Order permitting clearance. From the relevant date of export, that is date of order permitting clearance, from that date, within 3 months of that date, you need to apply to the central government, kindly fix rate for me because you have not fixed. And you will have to give all the details to the government. You have to give all the details, all the facts to the government. So what has happened is, you have imported, you have manufactured, you have exported, but the rate is not fixed by the government, you are not getting the drawback. So from the relevant date of export is date of order permitting clearance for export. From that date, within 3 months, if you miss that, it's problem. Within 3 months, you have to apply to the government with all the facts, kindly determine the rate for me, government will determine the rate for you and you will get the drawback. Next, in that rule 6 only, extra point now, provisional drawback. Now many times it can happen, government takes number of years to determine, government takes a lot of time to determine the drawback. Then you can apply for provisional drawback. Government will give you provisional drawback till the date final rate is determined. You will get a drawback, there is provisional drawback. But for provisional drawback, you won't get drawback exceeding the amount which you have claimed and you will have to give a bond because they are paying you in advance. So you will have to give a bond over there. Next case is like I have imported, I have manufactured, I am exporting, I get a drawback at the rate determined by the government, that is fine. But the rate determined by the government is very low and I say that is less than the 80% of the import duty etc. which I have incurred. Well, I am not getting adequate drawback. Let us say while import I have paid 100 rupees as my duty and while exporting based on the rate determined by the government I am getting a refund only of 70 rupees which is less than the 80% of the duty paid. I can apply for a new rate, but again the application should be made within 3 months of the relevant date of export. I will have to import, I will have to manufacture, I will have to export. Relevant date for export comes as date of order permitting clearance. From that, within 3 months, I have to apply to the government they are giving me less refund, I want more refund. To prove that I want more refund, I will have to give relevant facts and I will have to prove I have borne more duty, so I want more refund. They will consider the case and then decide on case to case basis. In certain cases, they won't give any drawback only. Sir, when? Imagine I have imported certain goods, I have manufactured certain goods, I am exporting. Export value is less than the import value. Government says, don't do that word, no drawback available to you. You are losing the foreign exchange of the India. So if your export value is less than the import value, no drawback. Or in certain cases, if your export value is less than the certain percentage of import value, you won't get any drawback, but that percentage will be notified by the government. Example, government has notified a rate of 10% of value addition. Well, if I import of 100, I need to export minimum of 110. If I don't achieve that minimum value addition which the government has notified, no drawback to me because I have failed to achieve the government targets. ठीक है. Next, upper limit for drawback. Drawback's upper limit is 1/3 of the market price of the export goods. I have exported certain goods. There are certain market price of the export goods. That is Indian market price. Of that 1/3 you need to calculate. That is the maximum amount of drawback. Above that, no drawback will be available. Example, I have exported the goods, the market value of which is 1000. 1/3 of the same amounts to 333.33. Maximum drawback is 333.3. Even using the rate determined by the government, if I get 400, I won't get that because maximum drawback is limited to 1/3 of the market price of the export goods. Next, if they have made erroneous payment to you, that can be recovered as per the recovery sections in the Act, which are there already. If you have not realized the export proceeds and drawback has been paid to you, means let us say I import, I manufacture, I export, I get the drawback, but still I have not got the remittance from the foreign person. And the benefit of drawback was available because I get remittance from the foreign person, I earn foreign exchange for the country. And I have not got the foreign exchange, matlab there are some chances of fraud. They can recover back the drawback as if the drawback was not allowed only with the interest, etc. They can recover the drawback. Okay? So that was all about amendments and drawback. That was highly theoretical one. You can just once read it, that's it. Out of all the amendments, the most important amendment was about the valuation. You need to consider that thoroughly. Okay? Happy studying. All the best for your exams. Thank you so much from the Commerce Educal team. Thank you.